Hello again, this is video number 14 of the boxMan tutorial, and this is going to be part 2 of the bind skin section. Um, so, I have made two cylinders right here. Both are exactly the same, and this is to basically show the difference between a correctly weight painted arm and an incorrectly weight painted arm, because when you first start weight painting, it's kind of unsure. You're kind of unsure on how you want to make it look, and also you're kind of unsure. Well, if you have a very complicated mesh, you'll be able to see the problem right away. You know, if you move the foot up, like the left foot up, basically part of the right foot might travel with it. It's because it computes that the right foot vertices are close to the left foot joint, therefore they get some influence. So this is stuff that is important to know how to fix. Things like that, you can use the component editor, because weight painting it is hard to get it 100% exactly unless you go back and forth over and over again with it. Again, I'm going to show you just the difference between a correctly weight painted arm and an incorrectly weight painted arm, because like I said, people don't really know how to get the they don't really know where they're trying to go with it, and they don't actually know if they're changing anything or changing it for the better or changing it for the worse. So I'm going to show you the technique that I use. It's been pretty, I guess, pretty productive and successful. Some people even use Wacom tablets for weight painting, but I usually just use a mouse. So I'm going to put these two arms in exactly the same position. Alright, just like that. So that we have a bend in the elbow, and we excuse me. So we have a bend in the elbow, and the bend is exactly the same. But if you look at your own elbow and try and bend it that way, it does not do this kind of caving in thing. It kind of, basically these vertices pull forward because the skin and the muscles wrap around the bicep, and the bicep goes directly into the center. Same thing for the muscle of the forearm, or if you are less muscular, then you can basically see that it just folds right on top of each other. There's no straight line like this. The reason why it's like this is because it basically thought, oh, there's this joint right here. It needs to, there's all these three joints. These vertices are going to be evenly weight painted to all of those joints. So I'm going to leave this one up here as the one that's incorrect, and this one down here as the correct one, so you can kind of see it before and after. So I'm going to go to, oh, and the way that you use the paint weight skin tool, click on your mesh, your geometry, and go to Edge Smooth Skin and Paint Skin Weights tool. Alright, so make sure you're shaded for this. So you're going to hit 6 on the keyboard. The reason for this is that you get a white, a gradient, and a black set up all throughout your skeleton, and if you change joints, that changes as well. What this means is when you see 100% white, or yeah, basically blown out white, it means that it is fully constrained to the joint that you have selected. When you get more of a gradient, then it's anywhere in between 100% and 0 constrained. Black is 0 constrained. So if I were to paint like this, notice that I get kind of like a gradient here, plus all those vertices change to kind of average out to be slightly constrained to this joint. If I move this IK handle right now, you'll notice that we're already getting something different. You know, it's not something that we really want, but it's a change, and that's why it's kind of confusing, because you don't really know how to use the paint skin weights tool when you first use it. It's very complicated. So again, I would use add and smooth only, and very important, use small values. So first of all, a couple of important hotkey to use. If you hold down B, your cursor changes to a little double arrow thing. So if you hover over your geometry, left click and hold, you can change your brush radius. You can also change like fall off and opacity stuff up there. I just usually leave it the same. And the way that you want to paint weights is you want to paint rings around. So like if you have a stomach, you want to paint around the stomach. And usually you only want to paint one half of your body if you have like one piece of geometry, because you can go skin, edit smooth skin, mirror skin weights. There are all these other options: copy skin weights, export skin weights, import skin weight maps. Stuff doesn't always work out correctly, and that's because when you copy skin weights, when you import, when you export, it uses your UV layout as basically a black-white gradient scale. And so if you have overlapping UVs, as I talked about in the texturing section, it will get confused and your model could just basically explode and you might have to re-weight paint. So I suggest be careful with mirror weight paints, mirror skin weights. Be careful with just weight painting in general. Like Maya's mini tools is one of the things that is just very very fragile. So I'm going to go ahead and just add rings like this, and see that's like already that already seems a bit too harsh on the value. So I'm gonna drop it again. See, so I'm getting just kind of a nice gradient, and again, just paint rings around. And you want to kind of balance it out. Oops. Undo does work for the most part, so don't be afraid to use it. So basically what I do is I add on one joint, the parent joint. I'm going to select the elbow, which is joint number 2 in this case. I'm going to add in that right here. And then so after I add on both, then I'm going to use the smooth tool and kind of smooth out things like this bumpiness, where I might have mesh going inside of each other, stuff like that, because you don't want clipping at all. Now, interestingly enough, smoothing, whatever joint that you have selected depends on your smoothing. You would think that you just smooth just means smooth in general. It is kind of like, if you think of it as a subtract. So it's kind of weird. So if you smooth on the joint that you have selected, you are removing influence and giving it to joints around. If you smooth on an area like this black area with a joint that's selected over here, you are adding influence to it. Or sorry, no, you're not adding influence. It wouldn't do anything if you're on completely black. You're still losing influence. So I guess you are, it just smooth is basically kind of just like subtract. So again, you want to get that kind of, see, we already got rid of, so if you check out the progress right now, see, we're already getting better, a better bend. And you slowly want to increase the bend. So I'm going to just select both so we can kind of keep an eye out on both of them. You want to get that bend that you naturally get on skin. It's very difficult to sometimes weight paint in creases, but I'm not going to do any more weight painting on it because you can already see a difference just like that. But weight painting is something that just takes tons of practice to get used to and perfect. And when I first started, I mean, it was very confusing. I could not, for the first 3 models that I did, I didn't know what I was. I could not basically tell if what I was doing was making it better or worse. And I mean, it takes practice. Look for stuff like the creases. Look at your. I mean, if you're doing a human character, look at your own body. Just look at your elbow and look for the creases. Look at anatomy books. Some of those, like the muscles, everything for the bicep, those are the best references that you can get for weight painting. But long, thin joints are a lot easier than short, stubby, fat joints. So stick to long and skinny, and you guys should be fine. So in the next video, I'll come back with the skeleton fully bound, and I'll start animating.